Thanks so much for joining us for our essential packing tips. We hope that the tips and tricks that we share with you will help you as you pack for your adventure. My name is Chase. I work within marketing here at Greenheart Travel.
And I'm Kara. I'm a program manager here at Greenheart Travel. And me and Chase are actually alumni of Greenheart Travel teacher bred programs. I taught in Thailand about 3 years ago.
And I taught in Korea and in Myanmar, so we met in Thailand. And everyone here at Greenheart Travel obviously loves to travel, and we've learned along the way a lot of mistakes and tips and tricks that we're going to share with you today. So what should we start with here, Kara?
So we just kind of laid out what we could potentially bring. We're sort of going to mock pack for about a 3-month trip. But these tips can be used for a shorter trip, a longer trip, a trip that's indefinite. Maybe you're just buying a one-way ticket. So we're just going to go over what we think you should bring, best practices, and like Chase said, things that we've learned along the way. So we're going to start with the type of bag you should use. That's a big question that we get from alumni. So there's a couple different options for you. The first one is just going to be a regular rolly suitcase. So this one is medium size. It's definitely not the biggest one you can get, but it's definitely not the smallest one. It's perfect for a 3-month trip. And everyone kind of has their preferences for what bag they use. For example, this is my preferred mode of packing. The reason is because a lot of countries are not, they don't have the same amenities that we're used to here, like escalators and elevators, and sometimes it's just dirt roads and stairs. So it's not really fun to be lugging around a suitcase. So this you can wear on your back, you wear the weight on your hips. It's a little more tricky to pack because it is a little more restricted, but I think the pros outweigh the cons with the ease of travel, but everyone has their preferences.
Yeah, I think I usually prefer to have a rolly sort of suitcase, especially one of the size that we're going to pack today, because it is a little bit limiting. You can't overpack, and I tend to be an underpacker when I'm packing now because of things that I've learned along the way. And a quick tip with this one as well, you can see there's a bunch of straps that are sort of dangling off. These could get caught as you're traveling and you're checking your baggage, so if you have a bigger sort of duffel bag to fit that in, that would help just when you're checking, and then also you'd have that extra larger bag if you need coming home. And speaking of extra bags, we also have a recommendation. So this is a nice backpack, really light, perfect for a day trip or a carry-on. Now today we're not going to focus on packing a day trip or a carry-on, but we do want to mention that this could either go with you on the plane, something of this size, or even pack it away in your suitcase.
Because you will be buying a lot of stuff, so you'll need some extra room to bring it home.
Right. So we'll just toss that over here to the side for now.
Alright, so to get started, we're going to go over our one essential packing tip, which is the 3-pile system. So I am a chronic overpacker, so I actually use this when I go on my trips. I don't always listen to the rules of it, but I'm getting better. So basically the rules are you have 3 piles. The first pile are things that you absolutely need. The second pile are things that you might need, you probably need. And the third pile is just things that you just want to bring, whether that's a cute outfit or something to make your room more homey, things that you don't really need. So basically you pack everything in the first pile, you kind of pare the second pile down by half, and then you don't pack anything in the third pile.
Yeah, and for space today, we're actually going to just get rid of the things that we would put in the third pile, and that way you can see a nice layout of things that we do recommend packing for about 3 months in pile 1, and then the things in pile 2 that you need to decide on or not. And something again here really quickly is you can make these piles, a couple weeks in advance, so that would help cut back on procrastination. If you're like me, possibly Kara as well, I tend to pack a day or even a night or a couple hours before flying.
Yep.
So what's helped is this 3-pile system, coming up with that during the week before, a couple weeks before, just things I think I'm going to put in each pile. And then when I start to pack the night before, I'm not so overwhelmed.
Exactly. Alright, so we're going to start with shoes because those tend to be the bulkier items. So whether you're volunteering abroad or teaching abroad, generally it's good to bring 4 different kinds of pairs of shoes. So we'll start with why we wouldn't pack
These really big ones.
Yeah.
So these are my shoes, my work boots I call them. And the recommendation would be to bring low tops or ones that aren't quite as big, but you will likely need, especially as a teacher or a work abroad situation, a sort of brown boot or a black boot, something like that that looks a little bit more professional. These are way too big. These will take up
So much room.
A really good amount of your suitcase. So third pile, toss those out.
And then another third pile shoe item would be shoes with heels. No matter what you're doing, whether that's teaching or working, most likely not going to need to wear heels. And again, they do take up a good amount of room, even if they're smaller heels. So although you might want to bring them for a night out or something, most likely you're not going to wear them if you bring them, and you'll save some room in your suitcase. So these, pile 3.
Right. Now, a couple other items here. So we've got a few bulkier items. So we've got this is sweater here, and then a sweatshirt and some sweatpants. So what are your thoughts on packing these?
So it's always good to have loungewear, especially if you're going to a place that has varied weather. But they do take up a lot of room in your suitcase. So we do recommend planning to wear this on the plane. You'll save a lot of room in your suitcase. Basically wear your pajamas on the plane. You'll be nice and comfortable. And yeah.
Yeah, and if you're layering, so let's say you have a t-shirt or two on and then put a sweatshirt over that, you could always take the sweatshirt off because obviously you might get hot on the plane and then use it as a little pillow as well. So just don't put these in your suitcase if you can help that. So pile 3 as well, we'll toss.
Yep.
And then we are going to hang on to this sweater.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Just in case. It's a nicer sweater, not quite a sweatshirt. It's good to have. All right, so the next thing we'll move to will be weather appropriate gear. So what we have here is an umbrella and a rain jacket. So the reason that these are going to go in pile 3 is because this is an example of something that you can buy where you're going for fairly cheap. In some places, if you're going to be in Southeast Asia during a certain part of the year, it's never going to rain. So again, they're heavy, they can take up a lot of room, and if you need it, you can just buy it when you get there. All right.
So that, again, that could be like a potential pile 2, but we're just putting it in pile 3 right away because we know.
Yep. And then the other item would be books. If you prefer to read on an e-reader, that's great. It's a great space saver. I hate reading on e-readers. I like having the hard copy of books, but they do take up a lot of room and they are really heavy. So depending on how long you're going to be gone, depending on where you're going, you might not be able to buy English books. Maybe just splitting it into piles 2 and 3 and kind of picking the couple that you want to take.
Well, so these would be pile 2 for now.
Yeah, I'll pick the smaller ones.
Throw those out.
All right. It's getting real small.
Yeah.
I think we've gotten rid of everything.
I think so too. So everything on this side of the table here now is what we would deem as pile 1, or necessary for about 3 months or so, 1 to 3 months.
And the extra items that we have that are not clothing items are necessities that you'll have to put in pile 1. For most places, you'll need a plug converter. We don't recommend getting a voltage converter, and the reason for that is because most electronics now have a built-in voltage converter. So the iPhone charger, for example, if you look on the back here, it says 110 to 220 voltage, which is what most countries have. So it's a pre-installed voltage converter, and real voltage converters are really, really heavy.
Yeah, you really won't need that, especially for your electronic devices.
And same for computers. Usually the little thing on the plug is a voltage converter. All right. Oh, and the computer.
Computer as well. And we won't actually put this in our checked baggage. We would recommend to have this in your carry-on or something you bring on the plane, but we will put it in pile 1 just so you know we are planning to pack that.
And if you want to be a little environmentally friendly, we do also recommend bringing a reusable water bottle, like this awesome one from Greenheart, just because it'll save you money from having to buy water bottles, and it'll save the environment a little bit from not having to throw them out.
Love. All right, so let's get the luggage back up here now.
All right.
So now we're going to do a bit of a demonstration here, and we'll try to show as we're packing by tilting it up to the camera too, just what we recommend for laying out pile 1. But before we do that, we'll go through some of the things we're going to bring.
Yep. All right, sounds good. So packing tip number 1, I guess, is to use your shoes to line the perimeter of the bag. It kind of helps keep it structured. It's bulkier items that are better to put on the bottom. So do you want to talk a little bit about why we're bringing the shoes we're bringing?
Yeah, so first we've got, these are more like a work shoe that would work well for you. A couple, a pair of more casual shoes that you could wear.
Everyday shoes.
Everyday work, out, some sort of pair of slippers or sandals. And then also a recommendation for a running shoe or a tennis shoe, something that you can wear to the gym, again hiking or sort of every day. And then, again, remember we toss out those larger boots, but you might need work boots, something more professional for a classroom and work setting. Okay, so Carol,
right.
kind of put those in there where you think those will fit.
Big shoes. So the next thing we'll go with to kind of fill the middle of it will be maybe a little bulkier clothing items. So we'll start with pants, probably a good idea.
Sure, so for me, I prefer about a week's worth total of clothing because that way it's going to get you through that week, and if you don't have access to laundry, if you need, you can wear something, another time or two, but at least a week is pretty good. With that though, I would bring a pair of khaki pants, brown, light, tan, something like that, at least one, if not two, and then a pair of jeans. What about you?
Well, it depends on what you'll be doing. For teaching, especially what country you're going to, you might not be able to wear pants. You might be given a uniform, so you may not even have to worry about bringing work clothes. But in general, it's good to have a pair of work pants, a pair of jeans, and if you wear skirts and dresses, those are also really good to bring. Ones that are versatile that you can wear both at work and going out, again, saving a little bit of room.
Exactly. So, and as Kara mentioned, we want to have the bulkier stuff sort of on the bottom to create a layer, so we are going to add that sweater in here as well with our pants.
And if you've noticed, you have noticed that all of our clothes are sort of rolled into a ball, and that's definitely done on purpose. Chase, do you want to explain kind of how and why?
We'll show with this pair of shorts here. So that definitely saves some space, and it helps you to keep it a bit more organized too. So even if you're in a rush, this is something you can do really quickly. Just fold your pants, your shorts, your shirts, everything. Make sure it's nice and tight there, and then you can shove it in really. That one would even fit on the bottom as well. They're a little bit bulkier too.
And one thing that we actually forgot before we put the shoes in, another tip is to use the space inside of your shoes to save on smaller things like socks, or even if you have smaller shirts, things like this, you can shove into your shoes. So they're still on the bottom, so we can just shove them in here.
Also, underwear. So we recommend bringing, of course, like a week's worth of underwear, about 5 pairs of socks or so, just again to get you through that week. But underwear will fit in shoes as well, depending on how big they are. If you have something that's breakable, if you're bringing a gift for a host family or for friends there, you might want to tuck that into the underwear or socks and put that in the shoe for extra padding there.
And just I guess a little bit of a tip on bringing gifts. It's always good to bring something that represents you, where you're from. So one of the things that I brought to Thailand was those Starbucks coffee mugs from Chicago. It has, Chicago tourist sites. Everyone drinks coffee or tea around the world, so they're always good to have. So in order to keep those from breaking, I stuffed as much as I could inside of them and then rolled it in a t-shirt and sort of put it in the middle of the bag.
And Greenheart Travel is part of a larger organization called Greenheart. We also have a fair trade store called the Greenheart Shop. And that's a great place. You can purchase things online. It's all fair trade to find gifts to bring with you, and also some items for packing or to help you pack. So we'll go ahead and add that link, a suggestion that we have on this video, and feel free to check that out too.
All right, what is next? Shirts?
Yeah, let's go shirts.
All right.
So I'll start in describing, I love wearing my shirts rolled up a bit like this. This is a dressier shirt, if you will, but also it could be pretty casual. I wear them casually, but they're versatile. So they'll work pretty well for work and then weekend, evening outs. So I have about usually 2 or 3 of these to get me through a week, and then maybe a polo as well. So there again, 3, max 4 sort of work out shirts for me. And then we'll go ahead and just pack those here.
And just an example of shirts that are good to bring as well that aren't button-up are just plain t-shirts, basically. You can wear them with jeans and go out. These are good for schools or in a more professional setting, since it's just kind of a plain t-shirt. You can match them with skirts. You can also wear them out on the weekend, so those are always good to have. Plus, they roll up nice and tight.
And if you have plain t-shirts, that's what I would recommend. If you have a shirt like this and you want to change it up a bit, sort of mix and match, you can have a plain t-shirt, white, gray, light brown, pink, whatever color underneath. Wear that open, or wear the t-shirt on its own as well. Of course, have your t-shirts that you want to that have writing, that's no problem. But how many t-shirts would you recommend packing?
Yeah, probably 4 would be good. You do end up collecting a lot of t-shirts from random places anyway, so you're never going to be short of them.
So we'll go ahead and put those in right there in that nice spot.
And then for dresses and skirts, sort of like what I said before, usually bringing 1 or 2 dresses would be good. Plain colored would be best instead of a print. But these are a couple skirts that are plain colors. Again, you can mix and match the t-shirts, help you save some room. Another dress.
And bathing suits as well. Bring a pair of trunks, a bathing suit, something that you want to be able to swim in, as well as potentially work out in too. So actually, that's already a bathing suit there, so we don't need two. That would be a pile 3. And then an extra pair of underwear as well, so pile 3. And then books. So these things, again, you could probably put in your carry-on if you're planning to have it on the plane. But for now, for this purpose, we'll go ahead and tuck it in here. So go ahead and have
I'll put these on
books.
here.
We'll keep this one.
And actually for the plug converter, especially if you're going to be flying halfway across the world, it's good to actually have this in your carry-on because you're going to have a layover somewhere and you're most likely going to need to charge something. So I've made the mistake a few times of leaving this in my check baggage and just being stuck without my electronics.
And again, water bottle. So put this in there. We'll tilt it up here so you can see a bit how we have it all tucked in there.
Yeah.
For you. Again, some would come out in the carry-on, but just for demonstration today, here's an example of packing for about 3 months. What we recommend, some tips for packing, remember rolling, don't overpack. This, the goal of this is to let go. So the 3-pile system, again, will really help you to not overpack, perhaps not underpack, but find that happy medium for you. Any other tips or sort of tricks that you have to share from your personal experiences, Kara?
More so from my professional experience. The one thing that I hear from alumni all the time, because people are always coming in the Facebook groups asking, what should I pack? What kind of bag should I use? What's one thing you regret bringing? Is most people feel like they didn't use half of the things that they brought. And they had to lug it around with them. They ended up leaving it there when they went back home because they never used it. So just keeping that in mind. You can buy most things wherever you're going.
Exactly, and then we didn't touch on toiletries. That's another thing that would definitely be essential. But as Kara said, you can buy most of those things where you go, especially larger sized shampoo bottles, facial wash, soap, things like that. Plan on getting that there unless you have something really particular that you want to bring. Use a little toiletry bag that you can find at most stores wherever you're from, but don't overpack those as well. And if you really need to, if you're there longer than 3 months, have somebody send your favorite hair product or lotion, what have you. But I think that's about it. That's all we have for you. We hope these help you. Again, 3-pile system, don't forget that. If you have any questions, feel free to comment on this video. If you have tips, things that you've learned along the way as well, please share with fellow Greenheart Travel alums. And we appreciate your time in watching this today.
Thanks, guys.
Safe travels to you.